Welcome to practice question on alternating generations. Difficult concept. Students often struggle with this. Hopefully you get an opportunity to look at the teaching video that will accompany this because like I say, you will always be tested on alternations of generations, and it sometimes is a sticking point for students. We're looking at questions 1 to 3 on page 23 of your student package. So let's get right to the first question. There you should recognize that as alternations of generations. This one is for green algae. We can see we have a sporophyte stage producing spores. It's right inside the name, right? And those spores are going to be haploid. We know that because it was meiosis that did that. Meiosis, of course, is a reduction division. So it's going to take a sporophyte that started out as 2N diploid, undergo meiosis, and it's going to reduce the number of chromosomes to half, just N, separating the homologous chromosomes. There are no homologous chromosomes in those spores. Okay, and then those spores will eventually grow and develop into gametophytes. You have a male gametophyte and a female gametophyte. Okay, and those gametophytes, meiosis will only occur once in that cycle. It only occurs to produce the spores. After that, everything is mitosis. And it's going to produce gametophytes that are haploid. Mitosis produces identical number of chromosomes, right? Identical copies. So if the spore was N and it was mitosis that got it to produce a male or female gametophyte, those male and female gametophytes are going to be haploid as well. Okay? Then they're going to come together, it's saying, for fertilization, and it's going to produce a zygote. Now we have both those ends coming together to produce a 2N diploid zygote. That zygote will eventually grow into a mature sporophyte. And of course, just like us, when we have a zygote and it grows into an adult, it's always mitosis that does that. So just remember, with any of these cycles, it is only meiosis that occurs once in the cycle to reduce the number of chromosomes, in this case for the spore. If it was for humans to produce gametes, it would be, again, haploid number, a reduction division. Okay, so when we get this diagram, it's always good to kind of break it up, because more times than not, these particular questions will have you talk about the diploid, what parts of this cycle are diploid, what parts of this cycle are haploid, maybe how many chromosomes that exist, are the two different processes that exist in this cycle. So either mitosis or meiosis. And sometimes they might talk about fertilization, which is taken from Unit 3, sexual reproduction. So before you even look at the questions, get that diagram, map it out. Tell me that the sporophyte is diploid. Tell me that meiosis occurs after to produce haploid spores. And then fill in the rest of it. And then, again, it's going to unfile the information that's tucked away into your brain so you can have a better chance of coming up with the right answer for these questions. So let's take a look at the first question. Which conclusion about the life cycle of sea lettuce is supported by this diagram? So we go through it. It says the spore is diploid. Well, after you've mapped this out, you can see that the spore was produced through meiosis, which reduces the numbers to haploid numbers. No more 2. There's no more homologous pairs, so we know that can't be true. So after you've mapped it out, very good strategy to do this. Makes tackling these questions much, much easier. And it takes a little time, but trust me, you want to get the right answer. Take a little time to map it out and you'll be fine. The zygote is haploid. Well, let's take a look at the zygote. No, the zygote had both ends coming together for fertilization to reestablish the diploid number. So we know zygotes are always diploid, so that can't be true. The sporophyte is diploid. So if we take a look at the sporophyte, we do remember that the sporophyte is diploid. That has to be the right answer. And the gametophyte is diploid. Let's take a look at N. No, we said the gametophyte, again, the spores through mitosis produced the same haploid gametophyte, so that can't be true as well. So of course the correct answer is C. Okay, let's look at the next question now. Next question says, assuming that the diploid number for the species is 12. So they're saying that this 2N equals 12 total chromosomes. Okay, now we know for humans that's different and all other species are different. What is the chromosomal number for Y, X, and W, X, and Y respectively. Now, what that respectively means is that they must be in the same order as which they appear in the question. So this is the order that they're going to appear in the answer here, like that. That's what that means, respectively. Okay, so if we know if the diploid is 12, meiosis reduces the spores, which is W here, to half. So we know that's going to be N equals 6. Okay? So we can eliminate this question right off the bat because we know W is 6. Process elimination, get rid of some of these guys. Now let's go take a look at X. X, they're saying this spore, when it was optimal conditions, produced through mitosis, we said, another haploid gametophyte. Okay, mitosis, again, identical. So N equals, in this case, 6 as well. Okay, so now we can take a look at the second answer. So that was X. Follow here, eliminates this. We already got the right answer. But let's just take a look at Y. Y is the zygote. Remember, 2 N's came together for fertilization to produce the 2N, and in this case, apparently, C. lettuce has 12 total chromosomes. So that makes this answer correct. Okay, and let's just take a look at the last one. Indicate the cell process that occurred responsible for producing gametes from the gametophyte. So here's the gametophyte, okay, and it produced these male gametes and female gametes. So we know, again, in the cell cycle, the only time meiosis occurs is to produce these spores. Reduces the number in half. We are never going to do that again. We never have a situation where we will reduce the gamete number in half or the spore number in half and then reduce them somewhere else in the process. No, that would defeat the whole purpose, right? We want 2 gametes that are haploid to come together to form a diploid, reestablish the diploid state in the zygote. We want that to occur. So in this case, indicate the cell. They're talking about this process right in between here. So of course we know that is going to be mitosis. Conjugation, that's with bacteria. That's how they can provide resistance to other bacteria. Fertilization, we know that's not occurring between the gametophyte and the gametes. That's when we have the 2 gametes coming together to form the zygote. And we know meiosis, the only time that occurs in alternations of generation is to produce the spore, never again. Okay, so again, these type of questions typically will ask you what parts of the cell cycle are the alternations of generation is diploid, haploid. They'll maybe ask the processes. So where did meiosis occur? And we know the only time it occurs is to produce the haploid spores. Or they might ask you the chromosomal number based on whether or not they're diploid or haploid. Okay, any questions on that? Give me an email, we can go over it, but make sure you take an opportunity to take a look at the teaching video for alternations of generations. Thanks guys, bye.